Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the 79th episode of Improving Chess with Sagar and the comedians. The comedians are on a small break, but we have a lot of action happening in the world of chess. So I'm sure that you guys are here to learn a lot and that we will be having a lot of fun. Today, the plan is to teach you guys something from the games of our stars, but more importantly, what I want to do is, often these games seem very difficult to emulate. You may be able to understand it, but you think that you won't be able to play like them. And it's true that playing this way requires a lot of effort, but if you think about it logically, like we are going to do today, maybe you too can play like them. So what I would like you to do today is to just take, like, watch the screen with just calmness. Don't try to do anything else. Just try to focus completely so that you can give your 100%, and then from there we take it forward as to if you can guess the moves uh, of your opponents, of Pragnananda, Nihal, and all these young stars. That's what we want to do. um, First of all, a big thank you to Snehal Pathak, who says, any tips for queen versus queen and bishop or knight endgames? Somehow difficult with time pressure. How to keep king safe while also attack? Well, what I understood, Snehal, from my experience is that queen endgames are the toughest in a way to play. You really have to learn them very well. And secondly, one very important advice that was given to me with regards to queen endgame was that never be afraid of checks. If you're not afraid of checks, queen endgames won't be an issue for you. So that is one thing that I want to drive home. But you need specific examples. They are never easy. You have to keep checking whether there are good checks, whether you can push the pawns. How does it work? It's not easy. But yeah, don't be afraid of checks and activate your king when required. That's important. uh, Abhishek Deshpande, thank you so much, Abhishek, for always supporting the Good Morning Chess, the Morning Improving Chess series. Thank you so much. So now let's have a look at the first game. Our topic is learning from our young stars. We saw a game of Divya yesterday. These two are our biggest stars of Indian youngsters. We have many more talented youngsters as well, but right now, in terms of rating, these two are way ahead because they have crossed 2600. And of course, there is after that you have many more who are just closely, I would say way ahead is a wrong term, they are ahead of others. So it's very exciting to follow them and how they are improving. Yeah. So shall we begin the game? So the first one that I want to look at is Pragnananda versus Javokhir Sindarov. And Pragnananda is white, so you will take the white pieces. For all those who are very, very serious about chess and want to improve, can take a chessboard with you and on the side and try to think on the chessboard. It will give you a real game like feeling. But okay, thinking from the screen is also fine. Anurag Bapat says, Sagar helped me to improve from 400 rating to 850. Fantastic, Anurag. Let's see how many moves of Pragg you can guess. So let's begin. Pragg begins with e4, e5, knight to f3, knight c6, bishop c4. And by the way, if you look at his opponent, his name is Javokhir Sindarov, and Javokhir is world's third youngest GM, and Pragg is world's fourth youngest GM when he achieved it. So the first one is Karyakin, second is Gukesh, third is Javokhir, and Pragg is the next one. And they both have had several games against each other, and it was There was always a good rivalry between them, and this game was very important because in a way Uzbekistan is a good team, and Pragg had a tough opponent actually in this. So knight f6, and then he played d3, and Jawahir here played a move h6. And the idea of h6 actually looks very illogical. I mean, at the top level, you really aren't afraid of move like knight g5. In fact, white could have played knight g5 here as well, but then d5 is the theory. So when you play d3, you can develop your bishop to e7 or c5 and castle. But why do you play h6? Well, can anyone explain to me what is the logic of the move h6 and what should be white's move here? Let's try to think. Let's try to play like Pragg. White to play. I want you guys to immerse yourself in the player. So how does one study games? We'll try to understand here. White to move. Everyone's asking me how was Samay's meeting with FIDE, or is it the same person saying it? I have no idea about this, so I'll get to know when the meeting happens. How it went and all of that, I have no idea right now. So to stop bishop g5, okay, interesting. Any other reasons why someone would play h6 in this position? White will play nc3. Sumit says to prevent bishop g5. Okay, interesting. Everyone thinks that bishop g5 is a big threat here, but I don't think that bishop g5 is such a big threat, because if you play bishop g5 anyway, let's say for example you put your, I play say here bishop c5, then bishop g5 is not at all an issue as such, because I can go h6, bishop h4, and even here I can go g5, and it's not such a big problem for black, because here the sacrifice doesn't work when the bishop can jump back to e7, correct? And otherwise if you go back to g3, I play d6, and this bishop is well, it's a suspect piece, whether it's good or bad, whether this weakening will create black problems in the future or not, all of this has to be seen, but bishop g5 is never really a problem. But yes, the point of the move h6 is actually, if white castles here, then black wants to play for a quick g5. So for example d6, let's say c3, and somewhere here you have this move g5, and this is the plan with the move h6, and you will be like, what, g5? That seems so aggressive. But the problem is, the game title is messed up. Okay, whenever I click on the reference tab, it goes away. Now it should be back. So g5, and now the point is to play g4, and the white king doesn't want to be castled right now. Yeah, so that is the reason why after h6 Pragg does not castle. It's very important, these little things. He plays the move c3. Now c3 keeps options open, it keeps the king in the center. Also, if you are ever going to play g5, I'll go for a quick d4, and I'll have more control in the center. You remember that flank attacks always have to be countered with an attack in the center. So d6 was played in the game, and now once again let's try to see how many of you. Pragg still doesn't want to castle, because castling g5 is something what black may want to do. So how should How would you continue here as white? Very interesting. I want to understand how many people, and let's immerse ourselves into the game. That's very important, so that you can start thinking like Pragnananda. You can start thinking like him and start understanding how to play. NBD2, Sumedh Goblet, FD God says bishop e3. Okay, interesting. Mayur Takkalkar says h3. So there are suggestions are h3, bishop e3, knight d2. Okay. Nomen Nesiko says uh, b4 or a4. Okay. h4 says Gurpreet Singh Birdi. He wants to stop g5, but I think h4 just weakens the g4 square a bit. Like the bishop could sit here, and it doesn't seem like the right move to play right now. h4. Very good. Everyone suggesting good logical moves which is related with either development. But remember, guys, you don't want to play bishop e3, because many times black, let's say I go bishop e7, and if I go knight d2, this would be a big mistake. According to me, I mean, it's not a good way to play. Can you tell me why? So black to play here. What is the problem with this? And always remember, when your bishop is on e3, this is an issue that you will face. So black to play. What is the problem usually in such positions? Yes, very good, guys. The move here is knight to g4, and this is always an issue, because you don't want to give up your bishop on e3, which is a nice piece for the knight. And after, let's say, knight f1, I say take, and say castles. Then I believe that here black is doing well, because he has the bishop pair, and also, I mean, you don't really give up your bishop just like that. Yeah, very important. So now here we come to the move which Pragg makes, and this is something which you should always remember in the Italian. He played the move a4, and a4 move gains space on the queen side here, and always you have the idea of pushing forward and gaining more space. Now this more like a feeling move, like you feel the position of your opponent. You're going to go a5 and then threaten to go a6. When he plays b6, his light squares become weak. So when you go a5, he will play a6, and then you gain more space. That is the concept. Okay, so Sindarov now says you are not castling, and I don't want to put my bishop on e7, so he goes for g6. Well, in general, someone said queen a4 pins the knight, but yes, the knight is securely protected. Also, you can always break the pin, so queen a4 is not a good move. Yeah, maybe not bishop d7 here, but just maybe bishop e7 should be fine. So a4, g6, and now Pragg went for the move queen to b3, attacking this pawn here, and opponent defended with queen e7. And now the question to you is, what should white play? White to move, how would you continue? Yes, very good. Here you try to gain more space on the queen side. A5. And you want to push the pawn forward with A6. Very good. All those who mentioned A5, very good. Even if you castle here, that is a good move. But then knight A5 is something you have to look at carefully, because you may lose either of the pieces. There is queen b5 check, he has to jump back. So it's quite possible, yet knight a5 is not a big threat, but you have to keep that in mind. But with a5, you don't run into that for now. So opponent played a6. And now the question is, white just castled because g5, he wasted a move with g6. So now Pragg is more confident to castle. Bishop g7. And once again, here he developed a piece. This is important. You put your knight because you don't know where your bishop would be useful for. So you develop your knight and he castles. And now let's find a very typical move in this structure. Let's see how many of you can find it. Vishal Tiwari, the reason why he did not play b4 before playing queen b3 is because with queen b3 now, he can put direct pressure on this point on b7. If the pawn was on b4, he may not have been able to do that. So that's the reason, that's the logic behind why he did it. Yeah, very good. Goblet fire. It's a very common move in this position, but something which has deep meaning and which you should be knowing. Yes, Parth, this is also right that you can develop your knight from a3 to c2 to e3. But the problem is here the a5 pawn will hang. Whenever you play knight a3, I will take this. So that's why he developed his knight to d2. Let's see for some moves. All those who say rook e1, very good, excellent thinking. Knight h4 mentioned by few, very very interesting. You're going for tactics. You're going like, if my opponent somehow forgets that this pawn is pinned here, I can take this pawn on g6. So that's why king h7, and then the knight suddenly starts to look a little bit awkward on h4. Like, what am I doing on h4 is the question. So therefore rook e1 is the main move here in this position, and a very good move. I'm very happy that all of you found this. And one more idea of this move is that the knight can jump from f1 to e3. Here g3 doesn't look like a good square because from g3 the two options which you have are controlled by the pawn. So the good option is knight f1 to e3 to d5. So king h8 was played here, and now Pragg had the option, two options to continue between his plan of knight f1, knight e3, or to go for something more direct, and he played that. He played the move d4. And you know, these youngsters, Sindarov and all, they are not someone who just sit there doing nothing. The idea of the move king h8 was that he wants to push his pawn f5 and come out of this pin. So that's the reason why after d4 he played the move knight to h5. Very very nice move, and he wants to come to f4, and he wants to even open up with f5. But you will see that because this rook is opposite the queen, playing f5 is not very easy. Yeah, Rajesh Bejgam, that is the reason why king h8 was played. Now de was taken by Pragg. I'm not sure whether this move is required, but I like the clarity of it. De, and now Pragg plays the move knight to f1. So he wants to put his knight here and then continue the game. There came the move bishop g4. Now, oftentimes what happens is, in the Italian, it seems like black has a lead in development, because white plays c3, d3, a4, a5, so many pawn moves. So look, black has developed, black is coming out with g4, whereas white's pieces look slightly undeveloped here, but it's not always the case. It's like the position remains semi-closed, so development is not always very important if black cannot open up the position. So that is the reason why here he went for bishop g4. Now a logical question to ask is, why not f5? It's just like you are opening up the position. You went king h8 for that very reason. So that seems like a very decent move. But after ef, gf, you see that whenever a pawn is pushed, it creates some weaknesses in this position, and already get a feeling that the position is filled with a lot of weaknesses for black. And that's the reason why, let's say, even if I play knight g3, you take hg, this position is better for white. The main point being that these two pawns here are slightly weak. I'm attacking here, the queen is opposite the rook. I may put my bishop also in front of the pawn. It cannot be taken because the queen will be hanging. I can play bishop d5, trying to increase the pressure over here, and somehow black cannot finish his development. If he plays e4, then after this, this square becomes weak, and I can even go bishop d5, and then later on maybe take here and play knight d4. So a lot of options. And yeah, I mean, if you take with the pawn or the rook here, then already the position is not at all great. I mean, I can even go just knight e3 or knight g3. I can even take on b7 if required. That's a free pawn. And if you play rook into f5, then once again knight g3, pawn takes, and somehow this pawn becomes weak. This square is weak, so it's not a good idea. Yeah, e5 is isolated. So that's the reason why Sindaro played bishop g4. And now again, a brilliant move by Pragg. Let's see how many of you can find it. White to play, white to move here. What would you play? Yes, Lalit Adityanar, very good move, very good. All those who say over here queen into b7, did you see that this pawn is actually hanging? But the problem is, I feel that here after bishop takes on f3, white at least has queen takes c6, and this is a good position for white. But after queen b7, if I go something like, let's say, queen d7 or queen d6, there are two problems. First of all, this queen is getting trapped, and secondly, when you go back, I can now take on f3, gf3, and somehow the king looks a little weak. For one pawn, I think Sindaro would anyway give this up and play queen h3, play f5, long pawn f5, and get a good position. And here, so bishop g4, there came knight 3 d2, and this is a very, very cool move, and I like it because some of you said you can play your knight to d2, but that means what you had planned, you have to go back. And if you go knight e3 here, then after bishop f3, gf3, let's say knight f4, I'm already beginning to worry about my king a lot. So a very good move by Pragg is to bring back the knight to d2, and then opponent came queen to c5. So you can see how he is trying to enter the position. He is trying to attack this pawn now. It's not easy. So my question to you once again, guys, you have to do a lot of work today. It's morning, but it's important to improve. So white to move. Sodia man, I've been streaming, learning chess, and I'm going to complete 20 episodes. You have been my inspiration. Thank you, Sodia man. Very good, guys. Very strong players solving this, and I'm very happy that all of you are able to. Guys, first of all, this pawn, if you take here, there is a clear problem. You have to spot it. What is the issue? Try to think. So all those who mentioned knight to e3, excellent work. It attacks the bishop and it also gains tempo. The question is, what happens after knight into a5? Because let's say you take my bishop, I take your queen. That is the problem. So what do you do? Okay, very interesting question by Mayur. And so there are a few things. First of all, queen into b7 loses to rook f b8. It seems like a strong move, but there is queen into c7. So it's not really illogical for now to play this move. But I believe that after queen into b7, it doesn't lose the game. You can go rook a7. Yeah, I mean it. And then after queen into b3, we can take on a5, can't we? And then we take this bishop here. So it seems like a playable alternative. Queen into b7, not a bad move. Not a bad move because it doesn't. Many times if this pawn is protected, then rook f b8 traps the queen. But here not. And also after queen c5, queen into b7 was not so great. Like you have a stronger move. But Mayur Gondalekar asks, what's the problem with bishop into f7? Very good question. Can anyone tell me what's wrong here? Black to play. What is the problem here? Yeah, maybe directly that is also possible. For example, if here queen into b7, directly knight into a5 is a possibility. But then after queen d5, I think white is better. Because if you take, I take with the bishop. But bishop f7, I think is a bad move. Because after take and rook f8, you are losing the pawn on f2 and then eventually the rook on fe1 as well. So in which position? So here after knight e3, you cannot really take here for now because I can take on a5 and take knight g4, which will be two pieces for a rook and a very, very good position for white. So that is the reason why black played the move bishop to d7. And now comes a very important moment in the game. How should white continue? You see, I have a very good position here. Black knight is suddenly asking to itself, Arey, what am I doing here? I want to come here, but right now not. And this f5 plan has been stalled. White knights are nicely. It's like white knight is jumping to d5. This is already one of the biggest problems for black. But there is a clear cut issue to solve here. Abhinandan Godial says queen into b7. Okay, that's an interesting question, Abhinandan. Queen into b7, rook f b8, queen into c7, rook a7. Does that trap the queen? It's a very good question. Can you guys find out why that was not working? Good question. Sikkan says आनंद जी ने ओलंपियाड में फिर बुरा खेला एंड एंड गेम हार गए. इस बार वो एक कच्चे खिलाड़ी से हारे और हमसे बढ़त बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा. संन्यास ले लेना चाहिए अब. सिक्कन जी एक बात मतलब very important. I don't want to speak in Hindi, but his question was because there are many people who only understand English who are here, that Anand is not able to play well and should he retire and cannot handle his losses. I think overall that Vishy's presence is really motivating the team. You know, sometimes it's just about a question of someone there, and he's not played so badly. He's played on the top board. He's drawn 3 games. He's lost 1, but apart from that, he's played pretty well. And you never know. You know, like when you're playing guys like Aronian and then Mamedyarov and then maybe even Grishchuk at the end, Vishy will be the most important trump card for Team India. So right now, it's too early to say what is the thing, and questions related to his retirement have been flowing around since years now, since maybe last 5 years. So we shouldn't be, the moment he lost his world championship title, everyone was saying he should retire. But Vishy has been constantly playing well. In fact, he became the world rapid champion just a couple of years ago. So let's believe in him. Let him take his decisions. He is smart enough, of course, and he's still the highest rated player, of course. So anyone here who could find out the move? Yes, very good. All those who said b4, fantastic guys. Very good. That's the move which actually saves the day, because the queen either has to give protection up of the knight or it frees up this d6 square. I mean, it's very difficult to now continue with actually when you move the queen, the c6 knight would hang. So that if you like take here, I take back, and this is just winning for white because white is 2 pawns up. So therefore, good question by here to take on b7. What is the problem? But it doesn't work. So queen c5, knight e3, bishop d7, and now was my question, and this is, I think, shows the brilliance of Pragnananda and something which we should all learn from. Knight into a5 was the threat here, and so Pragg plays queen to a2, and this is very nice move. Very nice move. Can anyone tell me, after f5 that was played by Sindarov, what did Pragg do here? Amazing move. It shows his creative brilliance. It shows how he's thinking differently. Rupam Das, in that position, knight b3 was not working because you didn't have the knight on e3, or c4 bishop was hanging. Very good. Sayam Chakrabarti, Sushmita, Parth Kanani, Ilam Parthi, Arnav Vasan. Very good. The right move here is b3. Very strong move. And here the threat is to play bishop a3. You see, often we don't realize that bishops can be moving on two diagonals. And so here b3 actually opens up this guy here. And it's a beautiful move. Very powerful move. So now Sindaro gets a bit nervous and he moves his rook away. So Pragg says, okay, I'm going to play bishop a3. And now Javokir takes the pawn on a5. And my next question to you, here is a moment where you can play better than Pragnananda. It's white to play. What would you do here? Very important. Think for a bit. Think for a bit. Guys, white to move. You know, all those who are talking about Vishy should learn from Vishy. Like all those who are even supporting him right now. Whenever someone asks Vishy about retirement, he lets his moves do the talking. You know, he's like, I don't really think he deserves a response from me. And he just plays well. So same thing. If you don't like someone's super chat, just let it go. You know, there's no point in wasting time behind it. Yeah, bishop f7 is a nice move actually. All those who are suggesting that, not a bad move. You are attacking this weakness. You understand the concept of weakness now very well. So bishop f7 is definitely not a bad move. Maybe he takes on c3 and then he tries to play. It's not bad. Queen c2 also I like. That's what Pragg played. But actually in the game, actually there's a very strong move. I don't know how many of you could find. By the way, if you play bishop e7, that would not work so well, because after queen into a2, rook into a2, I just move my rook away. So try to think here. We have always, you know, yesterday from Divya's game, we learned the concept of the raider. That whenever a queen comes in and tries to raid you in Kabaddi, you try to gather around it. And here, is it possible? Try to think. Try to think. Very good. All those who are now saying the move knight to d5, fantastic guys. Very good. Very good. I'm so happy that you found this move, because queen c2 is played in the game and it has a deadly discovered threat here. But the problem, and that's what happened in the game, is that the queen runs from b6, and now if knight d5, then there is queen a7 and the queen is somehow safe. So that is the reason why. What should we begin with? Why is Pragg rated so low? Pragg is rated low because he is right now, this is his rapid rating. So that is the reason why he is rated low. There is no other reason. His classical rating is pretty good. Okay, so coming back, knight d5, and knight d5 has a big threat now. The threat is to play b4 here, and when he goes queen b3, to play bishop b3, queen b5 and c4. You know, you trap the queen. Can you see it? Like, for example, let's just say it's white to move. I play b4, you play queen a4, I go bishop b3, and you go queen b5, and I go c4. And this is what I have been telling you always. In order to calculate better, give the move to yourself or your opponent. You know, like in this position, many times after knight d5, you may not understand what the threat is. Then don't give black's move. Take the move again. And once you take the move, you understand, oh my god, the threat is b4, queen a4, bishop b3, queen b5, c4. Game over. So here, bishop e6, let's imagine, then we go b4, queen a4, and now knight c7 is winning. So there were many ways in which white can win, but this is one of them that I wanted to discuss. Here bishop b3 runs into unnecessary bishop into d5, and then you can't take the queen because your queen is hanging. There are some complications. Even this should be winning. Okay, coming back now, queen c2 was played by Pragg. His opponent went queen b6, and now came the move knight to f3. I like this move actually very much by Pragg. And the way, how can I explain this move to you? Why did he suddenly play knight to f3? Let's try to understand first what's happening here. I mean, if you look at it, black has won a pawn and has gone back, but somehow his king side looks weak. So when, sorry, excuse me. So he would like to attack this king side with maybe knight f3, knight h4. So once again, what I do usually is when I play knight f3, and then I give the move again to white to understand what's happening. And perhaps here the biggest problem is that knight h4 creates a lot of threats like e into f5, knight into g6. So that is the idea of Pragg. So now his opponent goes knight to f4, which is a normal move, which is a decent move. You have to again think for yourself. Would you continue with Pragg's idea here, or have you spotted something stronger? White to play. Yes, Spielwolf, if you play knight d5 here, the point is after queen a7, even though you win a pawn, knight into c7, there are some problems after rook c8, or there's also this move b5. When I attack not only your bishop, but also your knight, and then, I attack your knight, and then if you try to take my rook, then I take the bishop, and then this knight is trapped. So these are some of the problems that you are facing. So here after knight f3, knight f4, how do you continue? Yeah, if my voice and video is not synced, then please just refresh. I think it should be working pretty fine. My voice is never an issue on my stream. Well, all those who said knight h4, this is not a great idea now because this is controlled for the time being, and he can already start to create some problems on my king with on my pieces with knight to a5. Like he attacks this, and if you try to further, the queen also starts to defend here. And if you play like a move like bishop f7, then already queen f6 attacks not just this bishop but also the knight. All those who say g3, once again, I mean, it's a little weakening move, and after let's say knight h3 check, king g2, and say f4, I have a feeling this bishop defends the knight, and you are putting pressure on white's position. Yes, maybe knight d5 is still possible, but then after queen a7, I think it's a complex position, but black is doing okay. So therefore, here what Pragg did, and very nice move, is knight to d5. He doesn't weaken his king side with moves like g3. These moves should not be made lightly, the pawn moves. He plays knight d5 and he attacks the queen and also the knight. So black rushes to take the knight here, and now after e into d5, he plays knight a5. And now once again, your move. Look at what is hanging in the position white to play. What do you play here as white? Think, think, think. Yes, very good. All those who have said that they, after watching the Olympiad and they have started improving at chess or started playing at chess, good job, guys. Keep playing, keep working, and we have, a lot of things to improve at. So keep working on it. Yes, very good, Aritra. Here, the main problem is that this pawn is hanging, and this is something you have to spot instantly. Knight h4 now doesn't work because this pawn is defended by the queen, and then he just takes on c4 and goes queen f6, and it looks bad. Jatin Desai says, where will quarter, semi and final stream, and will players play from their own house still? My super chat got deleted yesterday. Hope Ayushi is well. Jatin, um, first of all, I think quarters, semis, and finals, we are yet to decide where it will stream, but it will be, of course, on YouTube on one of the channels in the days to come. So we will let you know about that. Have to discuss it still with Samay. And also, I think, will the players play from their own house? I believe that they have tried to figure out ways in which they can play from their own house, because it's much more comfortable going to a new place, trying to adjust there, get a table, chair, which is good, lighting, somehow all of these things which we take for granted at our home is not very normal if you go to a hotel. So they are trying to fix things from their home itself, and I think they have been successful. So that should not be a problem. And the last question was, hope Ayushi is well. I believe she's good. I wrote to her, and I think she'll be back soon. Yeah. So here, knight into e5 was played by Pragg. And when you put so much pressure on your opponent, by the way, now if you take here, I'll take back with the pawn. And somehow this is just better for white, because after, let's say, queen f6, I want you to find a good move for white now. White to play. Will you be streaming the preliminary Armenia versus Greece? I believe I will. It's not something which is very exciting, but for Indian fans, but I think that if you get to see who our next opponents would be, how they play, it would be nice. Also, you'll get a glimpse of the format, which is new, which is like 2 matches instead of just 1 against the same team. By the way, I got an important info yesterday that the players can, after first 6 players, in the next 6, in the rematch, they can be changed. So yes, very good, guys. All those who are saying bishop e7, it's fantastic. So proud of you that you found this move, bishop e7, because now you fork, kind of double attack, and after take you have another fork. By the way, the fork is always a double attack, so here it works. Very good. And here, if you were to take, let's say, bishop into e5, then after rook into e5, now it seems like material is equal, everything is even, but look at this king. This king is very weak. The rook comes here, the queen comes and tries to attack here, the bishop can join in the attack if required. It's very, very difficult. For just, let's try to make some moves. If rook e8, what do you play here? Actually, this is a very interesting moment where I want to... Yeah, Mayur, Greece, Armenia. Yes, I think we'll stream it. It will be fun to see who our opponent. What is the good move here for white? You cannot take on g6, Spielwolf, because the queen defends it here. You know that when the knight was here, so there was no intermediate check. There's up UPS powered router on Amazon. YouTube doesn't allow me to send link. Rishabh Verma, yes, they are working with that. Shailendra Sharan Mishra, very good. Zach Kumar, very good. I'm very impressed. Very impressed with Vikas Jha as well. Who else? Who else? Mr. Amber. Good job. Very good, guys. Very good. I'm going to actually not reveal the answer here. And I'm going to show you one game which will clarify your concept of this. What is happening. And then you will all tell me the move. All those who did not find the right move, don't look at the chat and try to figure out the move, but wait. Okay, I'm going to show you a game which is Karpov versus Unzikar. How many of you know about this game? It's a very, very famous game, Karpov versus Unzikar, and supposed to be something which you learn. So I'm going to bring that up. You know, in chess, it's very important to know some of the old games which help you as concepts. So we come to this position here. Okay, it's white to move. It's from a Rui Lopez. So white to play here. What do you do? It's not Pragnananda versus Sindaro, but it's part of your understanding. Oh, so many people know Karpov Unzikar. Hey, Ilam Parthi said the move already. He knows it, yeah. Sushmita knows Yash Shah, Setu Bain. Yes, it was in the Kahoot. Very good. Very good. So, what is white's move here? Let's see how you can learn and then apply. So here, if you look at it carefully, black, all the pieces are on the board. Only one pawn has been exchanged. And black is slightly cramped for space because of the d5 pawn. Do you see this knight doesn't have anywhere to go? It's kind of trapped right now. This bishop is hitting the pawn, slightly cramped. What black is planning to do is that he wants to take, then he wants to put the rook here, then he wants to try and get the queen also to the a file somehow, like let's say rook a6, queen a8, and try to reduce. It's like sending your kids off to school. This was a concept taught which I learned from Jesse Cry. By the way, I'm going to try and get Jesse Cry on one of our streams. He's one of my inspirations. He's a person from whom I have learned so much about chess, and the most brilliant thing about him is that he, whatever he aims to do, he tries to achieve it. So you know, it's a very interesting way of living life. I was very surprised when I got to know about it. When he was around, I guess in his 20s, he said, I want to become a grandmaster. And I think he was around 2300 or something. And he worked like anything and he became a GM. Okay. Then after becoming a GM, he said somewhere, I want to do a PhD or something. Or before it, I am not sure. Yeah, maybe he did it before. And he achieved that. Then he said, I want to run a marathon, you know, training for a marathon. And he actually did it. He trained for it and he became a marathon runner. Then he said, I want to become an author. And then he wrote books for the next 2 years. So it's like dedicating years of his life to something challenging and achieving it. And it's really very interesting. And when he's tried to become a GM, he left everything aside. When he tried to become a PhD, he left everything aside. So it's like a focused way of living life. And it's really amazing how he did. Shrikant says, good morning. Please advise coach if you know in Vasai Virar for 10-year-old kid. Shrikant, I think there are coaches in Vasai Vihar. Although I will, if you write to me at chessbaseindia@gmail.com, that would be much better. All the people now who said, yeah, Sarosh Thapalya is Forrest Gump, sort of, yes. Have you seen that movie? Anyone? Forrest Gump, very nice movie, very interesting movie. My name is Forrest Gump. My mama told me. It's a very nice movie, and I think you should watch it. So here, Bishop, how did he earn money? Goblet Fire, good question. That's why we are going to get him on stream and ask. This is the move that was played by Karpov, and he said to his opponent, look, there's this bottle, okay? If I open it, water will flow. So what I'll do is, water will flow means rooks will get exchanged. What I'll do is, I will put a cap on it and I'll not let it flow. And then when I can actually play bishop c2, rook, the other rook will come to a1, then rook a2, a3, maybe triple on the a file, then he would do it. Yeah, my mother told me life is like a box of chocolates. Yes, exactly. It's a nice movie. Tom Hanks is my favorite actor, says Jeet Chakraborty. I think I will agree with you on that. I also like him very much. And now you just understand this entire concept, right? That you play this, we'll just look at how the game ends, like knight e8, bishop c2, knight c7, he got his rook, queen e7, bishop b1, bishop e8, knight e2. So that bishop stays there until things are clarified. And now he attacks on the king side, which is very, very nice. f6. I'm not sure about this move, f6. Now that I look at it, why shouldn't he take on f4? Maybe he was afraid just that after knight f4 or knight g4 may come, then these squares may become weak and all of that. Queen f4 maybe, and then knight g4, and then you attack, sort of exchange these bishops. Somehow these two knights, no one is coming to e5, which is the problem. f6, f5, g5, bishop c2, and then Karpov managed to launch a very nice attack on the king, and you see that bishop on a7 not moving away. Smart guy. Yeah, Karpov was a very, very smart player. He resigned here actually. He resigned only the game. Unbelievable game. And here, at this point, if you see, this is the move that we are talking about. Did you understand the concept? Not exchanging things when you have more space. Okay. Now I will tell you, when you are attacking also, you don't want to exchange pieces. So we come to the position which we were discussing here, which is this one. Now try to tell me what is white's best move. Let's see how many people are alert and can apply what they have learned. White to play. Sikkan says, हमको बहुत बुरा लगा आनंद जी की हार पे, किसी को हर्ट करना इंटेंशन नहीं था, कितना % चांस है आनंद जी का कम बैक करेंगे? अरे Sikkan, the history books have shown that whenever Anand has not played well, he's made a good comeback. Of course, age is catching up with him, so we don't know how he will play, but in general, I think it's very rude to ask him when he will retire. For example, if you are doing some work, no one is going to sort of tell you, there will be people who will look at your work, but no one's going to tell you you should retire or you should do XYZ. It's your decision. So I think we should leave it up to Anand. He's the best judge. Amazing. Everyone found it. Everyone. This is what I like. So here, bishop e7 is a very powerful move. And when you are attacking, you don't want to exchange pieces. So now you will first build up Then you may go queen d2, attack here. You may go h4, h5, try to soften up the king. Meanwhile, black is quite passive. He can't do much. And this king is like, oh, I'm all alone. Please help me. But no one's coming there. And so in the game after knight into e5, after all these long stories and Forrest Gump and Karpov and Unzicker and Jesse Cry and Tom Hanks and so many things, Anand, and we come to the move Rookie 8 by Sindarov. He got distracted with all these stories, guys, and he just blundered a piece and Pragg won. Very nice game. I would say Pragg is really a brilliant player. We are lucky to have him, and you know, the thing is, he works so hard on chess. This is something which is always underestimated. We see these young champions and we are like, wow, they are so cool, but they work so hard and they don't think of it as hard work because they enjoy chess. It's a nice circle. It's like they enjoy chess, so they work so they get better, so they are like famous, and then, you know, it's like they keep working like that. And it's very important to enjoy chess if you want to get better at it. Okay, I want to show you one more Pragg game, but before that we will go to our other brilliant talent, which is Nihal Sarin. Very different kind of a talent. So here there is one question in the last game. If you can help in had a doubt, Sanket, in such a position, such a game, isn't long castle a better idea? Well, overall the castling decision was made by black quite in the opening, and also if you see, white had played a4 a5 and he had a pawn on c3, so if you had gone long castle, for him to open up with b4 b5 wouldn't have taken a lot of time. So that is one of the issues. Okay, so let's go to the next game, and this is really one of my favorite games from this tournament. d4 d5, c4, c6, cd, cd. How many of you feel that the exchange Slav is a boring opening? It's very symmetrical. Has there been ever a match between Nihal Sarin and Vishal Sarin? I believe yes, when Nihal was young, and it was some blitz or bullet games that they played in some tournament. Friendly, it was just fun, but never I think a real game. When Samay googled Vidit Gujarati's IQ, he found something really interesting: 10 reasons to love Vidit. Yeah, that was an article I wrote on his birthday, and that was a nice one. I think it was something that was written to show how good Vidit is as a player. Oh, everyone feels it's interesting, okay, or boring, not boring, very interesting. The thing is that whenever you have a symmetrical structure, what is a symmetrical structure? It means 5 pawns like this, 5 pawns here, white has 2 pawns, black has 2 pawns, so it's like symmetry. One open file, both players have to use it, what to do. But the thing is, in symmetrical positions, the side that has dash, okay, the side that has dash is, you have to fill it, is better. Now tell me, what is it? Who can come up with the answer to this dash? Because if you understand this concept, then you will understand symmetrical positions. Earlier, I never understood this concept, so I always found it boring. But then I understood it. In symmetrical positions, the side which has dash, which you have to fill, which you have to write down in the comments, is better. Ilam Parthi says, bit interesting, bit boring. Okay, Real Patriots, good answer. Dave Agarwal, good answer. Dushyant, okay. Spielwolf, Okay, Goblet Fire, maybe, I mean, it's, yes, Lalita Adityan are very good. Keith Mascarenhas, maybe it's a little too small what you are saying, but kind of makes sense what you are. Phenomenal Gaming, very good. Real Patriots, you are right always as before. Suryansh Verma, excellent. So the thing is, the side which has activity is better. The word I'm looking for is activity. The one whose pieces are active. Just to give you an example, okay? Like for example, I play knight to c3, which happened in the game. Knight f6, and now bishop f4, and knight c6, e3. This all happened in the game, and now you play e6. Okay, this is very normal chess. Bishop d3, and now you play the move bishop d6. This is one thing which I was taught by Pankaj Joshi. And you know, chess learning happens at different places, and this learning happened in a train when we were going somewhere, because you know, when you're taught something different, it kind of sticks in your head. And it was, I learned it in 2007, 13 years ago, but I still remember the train berth where we opened a small magnetic set, and he was showing something, and he told me bishop d6 is not a good move, and it's very important for white to begin with bishop d3 and not knight f3. And I was like, why? I don't understand. Next move I will anyway play bishop d3. Why are you telling me that first I should play knight? And he said, look, I'll tell you. After bishop d3, bishop d6, you can be like, wow, that's a good move. Can you tell me why? Who can actually make me understand why bishop d6 is not such a good move? This was actually his concept. I'm not so sure if it works, but I think it's a good idea now that I look at it. So white to move. How do you continue here? You learn little things not in a structured way. It's many times unstructured. It's in a train. It's sitting on the berth with a bhelwala coming by, and he's saying, hey, bhel le lo, something like that. And you're like, okay, give me. And then you're eating it, and then someone shows you, and you're like, oh man, that's amazing. NH3, NE2, yes, possible. Anyone else? Who can tell me? Very good, Suryansh Verma, fantastic. Chess Express, very good. Tamil. Exchange the bishops, and the point of not developing the knight to f3 is to get further control on this e5 square with the move f4. And now, just to give you the example that I was talking about, my point was, this is, for me, it was very something different to learn. That after, let's say, castles, you play bishop, knight f3, bishop d7, castles, rook a c8, and knight to e5. Now let's look at this position and try to understand who is better. If you see, the position is still symmetrical. Okay, the position is still symmetrical, but the point is activity. Look at this bishop. Sad. Look at this knight on e5. These two knights, this knight wants to jump to e4, but it will lose a pawn because e4 is controlled twice and only attacked once. So you understand. Now white can attack with rook f3, rook h3, try to get his queen from e1 to h4. In a symmetrical position, activity is the key. I hope you understood. Please let me know in the chat if you understood this concept. If you haven't understood it, let me know. I'll try to explain it better, but I think it was not a bad explanation. It's a good example. Yes, okay, very good. Let me see if anyone else, please don't write no for without any reason if you understood it. Yes. In symmetrical positions, activity is the key. Yeah. Let's go back now to the game. So now we understand this game much better. Let's try to see. So e3, and now Nihal is like, no, I don't want to get my bishop passive here. I will develop it. He went bishop to g4. This is a good move. Bishop, queen b3. Now knight went to a5. And here the standard way of playing this position, I believe, is queen a4 check, bishop d7, and then you go back queen c2, e6, and bishop d3. This is how white plays, and he hopes again to take advantage of this passive bishop with his active piece and tries to get a small edge out of the opening. But in the game, Rowan Vogel is, by the way, a talented German youngster. He played bishop b5, and Nihal was like, okay, exchange my bishop now, because if you try to save your bishop, I will take your queen. So in that way, the bishop exchange favors black, because you see his pawns are all on the light squares, and this is light squared bishop. This is better bishop. So therefore, he is very happy. Knight f3, and now Nihal said, I'll play a6. So Vogel says, I'll take. Now you can't take with the queen because a5 piece is hanging. So you play knight takes d7 and you go castles. Now Nihal is like, oh, castling is done. I must quickly play bishop e7. So you go rook f to c1. And here he went knight back to c6. White played the move, queen to b3. And black quickly went queen b6. Very good play. In fact, Nihal is not letting his opponent get that activity which I was talking about, Queen d1. And now came castles. Very simple chess. And after this came knight to a4. Black to play here. What would you play in this position? Let's think. Gur Sevak Singh, you say you usually in good strong positions but tend to ruin those positions by overthinking too much and your mind goes blank. What to do? First of all, Guru Sevak, why does it only happen in strong positions? Why does your mind not go blank in weak positions? This is one question to ask. Many people just try to think, oh, strong positions. The reason could be that it's not a chess problem. It's like when you're winning, you feel very happy or something and you're not concentrating enough. So my suggestion to you is, in a game of chess, always try to remember the aim is to find the best move, the next best move. You could be winning, you could be losing, it doesn't matter. You just find the next best move always, and that will help you to stay focused in the game. Ilam Parthi says queen b5 and get your bishop queen trap. No, queen b2 is not coming here because knight into b2. So yeah, here I don't know what happened to my sound. This usually happens after a lot of streaming and it's quite irritating, but I don't know. Okay, queen a5 is what seems like a good move. I was thinking, what if a3? Because next move I want to play b4. Let's say you go rook f c8, because that's a normal move. You know, the reason why you put this rook to c8 and not the other rook is because when you play rook c8 and I play b4, then you may have to put your queen to d8 and somehow these two rooks connection is broken. So that is the reason why if you put rook f c8 and I play b4, then you can go back queen d8 and your rooks are happy, like connected. It's like not to become kebab mein haddi. There's this famous saying. What's the English thing for it? Thorn in the neck? Or I don't know. Some people are asking why couldn't he take on b2 here. So let's try to understand what is the problem. Can anyone tell me what is the best way in this position for white to continue? It's a good question, by the way. Who asked that? Was Savita, I think. Not G2, but it was B2. Can anyone tell me? And remember, what I have told you. In symmetrical positions, what is more important? Rook a b1. Very good. Queen a3. And now let's say you take on b7. And if you think about it, what did we discuss? In a symmetrical position, activity is the key. And now suddenly white has activity. And for black to create activity is very tough because he has no pawn breaks, he has nothing, and this will slowly end up in big difficulties for him. Yeah, there are also other ways to play here, maybe more strong ways. For example, knight a4 could be interesting move. Queen b4, rook a b1, queen b5, queen a5, rook into b7 is again a very viable way, but the net result is the same. The rook opens up, the king is castled, bishop is coming to c7, knight may jump in here. It's a passive position for black. So that's why Nihal was very smart. He castled, and after knight a4, instead of going to a5, which as all of you pointed out was the better move, he played queen b5. And here I believe white has a very strong move, and it's not so easy to find, but white has a good move here. What do you play here? White to move. Will it happen that on one of my streams I'll like lose my voice and I want to talk, I want to teach, but suddenly I can't speak anymore, and then I have to, and then I'll start typing. Yeah, Mayur, you have sent me gargle with salt, turmeric and water, and no second stream today. Yeah, I was just talking with Anish Giri and we were planning to do something today, but maybe we'll see. Yeah, Vixki Golilo is also. Suddenly it's okay. I don't know. So here, bishop c7 was played by Vyogel, and this shows his very, very quick tactical vision. So what happens is that these two squares are taken up by the bishop, this square is taken by the rook, this square already is controlled by the knight, and there are issues in this position for black. Like his queen all of a sudden feels like this. Again, this concept of raider in kabaddi is so relevant in chess, no? You feel like you are going to now, you are outside and all these pieces are looking at you and you're like, oh, I'm going to catch you. The queen is like, man, what should I do? Um, but when I was actually looking at this position, I found that b4 move is very strong. I don't know if any of you uh, can can actually really try to understand what's happening, because b4, if you give me time, like let's say you play a move like h6, just a random move, then I would play something like, let's say, a3, and I have solidified my structure. I can jump on c5 with my knight. I'm very happy. So the question is, what happens if I take bishop into b4? One question, just simple question. Can anyone tell me what's the problem with bishop b4? And it's so amazing that this entire thing about activity, when I told you, is just so relevant every time. How do you continue? Yes, rook a b1 is a decent move, not bad, but then he will run away to queen a5. So whenever you think of your own move like rook a b1, think of opponent's move as well. And maybe here it's not so simple anymore because the queen is safe. So why is b4 good? Anyone? Yes, all of you. No, first not rook b1. Rook b1, bishop, queen a5 may not be the best, but start with a3 first, and then push him back, and then go rook a b1. And suddenly you say that if he plays queen a5 trying to save his queen, now you take on b7, and you'll see that the knight is hanging, and again the position is about activity. And guys, here if it was white to move, he could pick up the knight, but also bishop c7 traps the queen. So in such positions, move like b4 is very difficult to find, and it's also tough for grandmasters to find. And that's why chess is still interesting, because b4 is a move where there are too many options. He can take with the queen, he can take with the bishop, he can take with the knight, and you feel like no, it doesn't work. But then you suddenly see, if he takes with the queen, rook a b1 and take, this is problematic. If he takes with the knight, I can play a3 and rook b1, again problems. Like for example here, maybe not a3 because knight jumps to d3, but maybe rook a b1 could be a good move. And now a3 is a big threat. If you now go queen a5, I still do the same thing and I get activity. Yeah, so that's the reason why knight a4, queen b5, and now comes the move bishop c7. He had to play b4 as we discussed, but bishop c7 was played. And now Nihal was really tensed, I think. Here he was like, oh my god, my queen is going. He played the move rook c8 to attack the bishop, and suddenly the knight jumped back, and you're like, oh, my queen, where will I take my queen now? That is the question. Suddenly you see queen c4 is hit with b3, queen b4 is hit with a3, and suddenly the queen has no time, no square. This is controlled by this is controlled by the bishop, this is controlled by the knight, this will be controlled by the pawn, this will be controlled by the pawn. So time to resign. The question from all of you is, will the game points be considered, or if the match points are equal? For example, the format is you play 6 players versus 6, one match, and then you reverse the colors and you play the second match. Now in this, if suppose team 1 wins 4-2 and in the second match they lose 3.5, 2.5, then does the team 1 win the entire thing? This is something, or does it go into the Armageddon? This is something that they are still discussing, and I'm very surprised, because it's a very key point in the entire thing, and they are still discussing. It's not clear. It's very surprising for me. So we have to look at it still, what will happen. Kushagra Sharma says, what if after bishop c7, a5 was played to save the queen? Not bad move, Kushagra. It's a logical move. After knight c3, you want to play your queen here. Interesting. I'm a little bit concerned about this weakening of the b5 square, but I'll live with it. And a good suggestion. But Nihal had seen something interesting. Nihal said, I will first play queen to b4, and I like this move because queen b2, the pawn is still on a2, it's much harder to attack it. If you provoke the pawn to come to a3 and then do the same thing, then the bishop always keeps an eye on the pawn. Smart guy, yeah? Rook a2. There's some notification sound coming to you. Which one? Not sure. So here now, Nihal could take the rook on c1, but he took the other rook. Okay, I mean maybe queen c1 was better, but he takes here and then he takes on c7. Now let's try to calculate the count the material. What do you think? Who is better here and why? So in this position, how should you assess this position? Who's better? Mayur Gondalekar, if you go for two Armageddons with reverse color policy, it's not an Armageddon. Armageddon means it's a face-off. You remember what Armageddons were? In the olden days, if I'm not mistaken, there used to be these fields, huge, long fields, and there would be two sides opposing each other, and they would just run at each other, and there would be a war. It's like now or never. Aaj khatam karenge. We'll finish it off today. And that's what was called the Armageddon. So in chess, that term has come into use. Everyone says position is equal material wise. Very good. You are all counting well. You see how to count. I will show you. First, you must take this knight with this knight with this, rook with rook. So then you realize that there is a queen with bishop and rook. And if you take the pawns, there are 6 pawns. And if you look at the pawns, if you compare them to the same, this is your extra pawn. So overall, white has a rook, bishop and pawn for a queen, which is sort of 9 points for 9. And that's how it is. Now, question is the queen better or is the knight better? That is one question always that is asked. Sorry, what am I saying? Is the queen better or is the rook, knight plus pawn better? What is the better combination here? Who can try to explain it to me in the chat? What is better and when? If we can understand that, maybe we can understand this position much better. Because many of you say equal. Yes, material is equal. But still, positionally, who's better? Who has the advantage? What do you think? Both have 9 versus 9, depends on position. Okay, interesting. Let's see who's able to explain here. Because it has more pieces and in future black can activate its pieces quickly by putting pressure on queen. Okay, Hemant Singh, not bad. Okay, material is equal, black rooks will double. If white is not careful, black activity will be decisive, says Mayur. Interesting. Queen is a combination of rook and bishop, yeah. Queen better in open gameplay, Shubh Anand. Well, very well said. If king is safe, the queen is less important, Goblet Fire. Okay. Rakshit Singh says, very excited for the quarters, literally counting days, going to make everyone in the family watch the matches. Also, will you be streaming Armenia in Greece? Rakshit, yes, we are all very excited. In fact, I'm also counting days. I'm like, oh, it's still 2 days away. What's happening? I think, yes, I will stream Armenia versus Greece, because there we will know whom we are playing against. And maybe that same excitement won't come as Indian players, but we'll enjoy the chess part of it. And Rook, knight and pawn, if they are in harmony. Ruchir Deshpande, not bad suggestion. Shahid Hussain says rook bishop plus pawn is better than queen. Okay. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to not read everything, but I'm going to say that queen is like a missile. Okay, queen is like a missile. Shrikant Parab says in endgame queen is better, however mid game rook, knight and pawn are better. More than that, let's try to understand this concept. What does a missile do? A missile is like it moves in different directions quickly. Let's say wherever you want to point it at, but it needs a target to attack. So for example, if there is a target in the position to attack, the queen is really good. And if there are more targets, the queen is amazing, because it can quickly go here, attack this target, suddenly swoop here, attack this target. It's a super piece. But when there are no targets, the queen is like, what should I attack? Where should I go? It's confused. So that's the reason why a queen needs targets. And the thing in black's position is there are no targets as such. If you look at it, this might be one, but very difficult to attack. This is a bulletproof structure here. So in this position, I would say that black is definitely looking pretty okay to me. I mean, he should be at least very slightly better as well, because the queen has nothing much to do. But I'm so happy that all of you have written so many nice things. For example, let me read a couple of things. 28th August is my birthday. Okay, Kapil Raman, I thought you were writing about rook and queen. Harjap Singh, white's knight on f3 is passive because the bishop controls g5, the knight controls e5, white knight on a2 is also misplaced, while black pieces are much more active and harmony. Very good. Shashank says a good commentator will bring the same excitement to any game he commentates on. Counting on you, Sagar. Okay, Shashank, I'll try. Yeah. Isn't having a queen on board a psychological advantage for lower rated players? Of course, GMs wouldn't mind if pieces are equal. Depends, guys, there's nothing like lower rated or higher rated in chess. I believe that a lower rated player, if you are having a low rating, can play a good game anytime. So when I teach anything, I don't take too much into consideration. I mean, there are moments when I have to tone it down a bit, but I don't try to see, oh, is all lower rated, I shouldn't show them. Like this game, what you are seeing right now, is very difficult to understand even for a very strong player. But you are understanding. It may take you more time, but it's possible. So I don't think that you should think in this way that lower rateds may prefer this or this. You must try to see what is the best in the position. What is the objectively the best move. So knight b4, rook comes to c8. Takes, and now we have more exchanges, and now it's becoming even more clear that this move which was provoked, a3, is so useful because the bishop is planning to take it. Now you play g3. And how many of you here in the chat want to take the pawn on a3? Please let me know how many of you want to take. How many of you want to take the pawn on a3? See, it's a pawn, you can win, and then you will have two passed pawns, and you're like, then you have a clear advantage. Okay, Goblet Fire wants to take it, wants to gobble up the pawn. Mafia Pawan, Pranav Hari wants to take. Secret Avaz says no. Me. Oh, everyone wants to take the pawn. Guys. Think. When you don't think, you will be in trouble in chess. When you don't think, you will be like, oh, I want to take this, I want to take that. But you have to think. Why not? The first question is why? First is, it's a good question. Why not? So take it, and then, or you think first. Now, all those who said you want to take the pawn, very, very bad decision. Very bad. Look at this missile here. It's sitting there. It's saying, target de do. Give me a target to attack. Why are you guys not giving me a target? Give me something. And you're like, okay, come, buddy. I'm taking this. She's like, activated. And you're like, comes to b3, attacks the bishop and the pawn. And you're like, oh my god. Now what did I do? So let's say you go back, for example. He takes target. Knight may jump into e5, target. You see, the queen suddenly has become a dangerous missile in the position. It's a lost position for black. Completely lost. All those who wanted to take the pawn, you would have lost the game for Team India. Yes, that's why you don't take. Always find the reason. Don't see a pawn. It's like saying that Padzer in chess, there's a term called Padzer. Padzer means someone who doesn't understand chess so well, like an amateur. He says Padzer sees a check, Padzer gives a check. And here it's like Padzer sees a pawn, Padzer takes the pawn. Don't do that. Try to think what to do. Okay. So now comes the move which Nihal plays, b5, and Nihal is like, now I'm taking, guys. Now I'm taking this pawn. For example, you play king g2. I'm very, very happy because the missile is shielded with the b5, a6 pawns. Okay. Possible. I mean, there's one suggestion which says if bishop a3, then knight g5, and you want to come queen h5 to attack. But the problem is that I will just play rook c1 and I'll win your queen. So you don't have time. So Nihal pushes here, and now comes queen to d3. Okay, so Nihal says now I will stop knight g5, and he plays h6, king g2, and now comes the move knight to b6. Just putting his knight nicely, trying to go to c4, and he wants to win this pawn. Black has a lot of firepower in the position, so it's very difficult now with this weakness to control it. So white decided that I will go knight to e5, rook c7, and now came a nice move. I will let you think here. White to play. What would you play? White to move. What will you play here? Safety first, greedy next. Yes, Ilam Parthi, I agree with you. Safety first. Not always, but here definitely. Guys, we have 1000 people watching. That's very nice to know. Please like the stream. Please learn chess. It's very cool. And try to tell me what should white play here. I know we are looking at the game from Nihal's point of view, but sometimes you have to understand chess. It's not just about Nihal. e4 says people, f4, a4. a4 is a horrible move. You just lose a pawn. f4 is possible, not bad, but it's, you know, what happens with f4 is e3 becomes weak. The knight jumps here. Suddenly the rook comes in, starts attacking here. This is, I don't like f4 so much. Like for example, let's see f4. I know you want to create weakness with f5. It's a very logical idea actually, but I'm just somehow feeling it's a weakening move. Maybe knight a4 I wanted to do, but then you have f5. Yeah, maybe that's how you should play. Yeah, like here, maybe queen b1, and then you're threatening this, and suddenly missile activated, guys. Missile is being activated. So f4 is interesting guys, very interesting. How about I try to play f5, but then again this becomes weak. Any suggestions here for white after f4 f5? Remember, you have to activate the missile. How does white play? Let's see. Yeah, you don't like exposing the king with f4, I understand, but the idea is very clear. You want to play f5. And as we said, if we can create, let's say, I'm just giving you a hypothetical scenario. I play f5 here, okay, in this position. And then I play f into e6, f into e6 and queen g6. Suddenly you see there are weaknesses in the position. Very good. All those who said in this position after f5, there is coming g4. I'm so proud of you guys. So proud. Amazing. No, Suryansh, don't be so slow. Don't do like queen e2, queen here. It's possible. It's not bad. But why not g4? He cannot hold this structure with g6 because knight into g6. And if he takes here, then queen g6 and queen is attacking here. Queen f7, queen e8. Gone. Position is gone. If f4, I would play knight c4 is a suggestion. Okay, interesting. Because now you're stopping f5, yeah? Because ef5, queen f5, then this is hanging. It seems logical to me. Seems logical. And I think that might be the better move than knight a4. Because knight a4, f5, I'm really scared right now. So f4 is a good idea, but white went h4, and I also like this move because he wants to play h5 and kind of fix this structure and have less space for the king. So Nihal here went bishop d6, and Nihal says I want to take this knight off with my bishop, and then I want to put my knight on c4, something like that. So knight f3 was played. And now he went knight to c4, attacking the pawn on a3. There came the move e4. And you will see how this is very, very critical moment. Now, any player who is not very alert may play the move bishop a3. Okay. But you see, ed, a target is created. A missile is activated. Queen to f5, and you see now the queen is very happy. It's like, oh, I'm attacking d5, I'm coming to e5, maybe f7 could hang, the rook moves, there could be a check here. Gets excited. I mean, the queen doesn't get excited, I get excited in this position because it's all hanging. So Nihal said no targets for the queen, I'm coming back to b6. If you take, I will take with the knight. Okay, knight d2 was played. By the way, e5, bishop f8 is what Nihal was hoping for. The position remains closed, but even here with something like g4, with the idea of h5 and g5, could be a very, very strong way to play. Devin Anand says, looking forward to the quarter stream, hope you are getting enough rest, Sagar bhai. Devin, I'm not very sure about the rest part, but I am so excited for the quarterfinals. I'm so excited. But I just want to say this once, and I may say it again and again, that I know you guys are supporting chess players, but if ever they don't do well or something like that, you should be accepting that fact, because it's sports. Shouldn't get all worked up like, oh, हमने कितना support किया, we supported so much, we want to now they have not done well, they are stupid, they are playing poorly, oh, he blundered a pawn, even I could see that move and stuff like that. All of that should be avoided. That's what I feel. So in the game he went knight d2 here. I think it was okay to play e5 also. Nihal kept waiting, bishop e7, ed, and now knight into d5. He went knight to e4, rook c4, and knight came to c5, and a very interesting move by Vogel. He was like, you take my pawn, another pawn, but give me targets, give me something for the queen to enter. Thank you. That's good to know that all of you will be with them forever. By the way, I haven't said it on my stream ever, but mods, I would say, maybe I will make Devin the mod. Devin, if you can put your song in the chat, that would be nice, because that was a very nice song. Actually, Devin is a musician from Australia. He's from India, but he lives in Australia, and he's made very good music, and I think it's very, very nice. If you can all hear it and subscribe to his channel, it's a very good one. Manush Shah says, Petition Sagar for GM, excellent work for you. Thank you, Manush, but maybe first you should become a GM. Manush is also a very strong player. So now white went queen d4, and he's like, move the rook, I'm coming in. So Nihal says, no targets. His thing was simple, I'm giving you no entry points. And what surprised me here a bit, let's try to see if all of you can figure out white to move here. What would you play? White to play. Yes, I will stream Armenia. Okay, all of you have been saying, but I will do that. White to play. Queen e5, very good guys. You all are very, very strong, and you understand this very well, that here it was important to try and enter this position like this and try to attack at least this weakness here, or this. These two are the weaknesses right now, so I would attack it. A4, I'm not sure, because a4 I think runs into b4 perhaps, and maybe this pawn is very quick to move forward. So therefore, yeah, I like this move, queen e5, queen d6, a5, queen d6, b4. I was just looking at this, and then you just don't take here, but you play queen a6. Now you're attacking this pawn. If ba, queen a5, rook c3, and you see this pawn defends the knight defends the rook, and the rook defends the pawn. So it's quite a good position for for black, I would say. But it's very difficult to make progress. You can't move the knight, you can't move the rook, you can't push the pawn. So how to make progress? Not sure. Maybe it's around equal. Black has a small edge, but very difficult to make progress. h5 was played by Vogel here, which is again a nice move, cramping move. Nihal was like, now is the time to push my pawns. I'm going to get a queen. Queen d3. And he didn't play b4 because he knew if I play b4, the queen comes in. So he's very careful. I really love how Nihal is careful. But you know, the queen is a very, very dangerous piece. You cannot always remain careful because queen now comes to c2. It wants to enter here. So if you go here, it will again enter here. It will attack here. That's how the queen moves. So rook b8 and now queen c5. b4. And now it's already winning actually. I think maybe here it's already beginning to get difficult. I think the last chance for white is somehow to create another weakness with f4, f5. Try to shake this guy up. Try to create a weakness here. Maybe he's slow in doing this, like take. But maybe it's fine. You know, he should have done that. The moment he played queen c2, rook b8, queen c5, now came b4, queen a7, and Nihal was like rook b6. Now, if you take, which happened in the game, take, Nihal is like 1, 2, 3. My pawn is queening. And my knight defends the rook, pawn defends the knight. This is winning, right? But Vogel is like, wait, I'll give you a check. Nihal goes to h7 and he plays queen to e8. Now I want you guys to think here. Try to think. Try to take your time. How should black win this position? White to play. Oh, sorry, black to play. b3, everyone just don't give one move. b3, he will take the pawn. b2, queen g6 check. King g8, queen e8 check. What do you do, guys? Draw? All those who watch the live stream know the answer, yeah. But it's very stressful. I mean, even a player of Nihal's strength couldn't find the move. And in fact, there is not one, but actually 2 or 3 ways to win here. Santosh S calling notation is difficult for you. Please learn it with willpower. There's nothing else. It's just 64 squares. You can learn it. It's not a big deal. b3. Good move. If queen into f7, you go not p2. This is a horrible blunder. Check. Perpetual. It's called perpetual check. Game over. Draw. So you go what? You go knight to f6 here, which is a suggestion by Sumed and a few others, which is like, if you give me a check now, I'm going to g8 and I control the e8 square. This is a very nice move. I like it. And now after b2, b1, it's game over. Just like, for example, let's say you go queen b1, I play b2, and then I go knight d5, knight c3. What to do? It's over. You just had to control. I think it's about time pressure. Nihal, if he had 1 minute, he would have found he was down to 10 seconds right now. Another very cute move is knight e7. All those who said this, good job. And now if take, I go b2. And now again, if you want to give a perpetual, it doesn't work because my queen supports this square here. And then kind of defends that square, and it is game over. It's winning for black. So Nihal had this wonderful way. It's this final position is actually a great representation of what we are trying to achieve. It's like, he gave you a target at the very end, but it was only so that he could win the game. Until then, there were no targets in the position. So here Nihal played rook b7. He wanted to defend it. It's still winning. Queen c6. He went rook b6. He came back. b3, and I was very excited. I thought Nihal will win now because queen f7. And here he played the move rook to b8, which is still winning. Queen a7, rook b4, queen f7. And now remember guys, even knight e7 doesn't win because you take and then the rook is hanging like b2, rook, queen into b4. So therefore you have to now play rook b8, queen here, rook b6, queen here, and now knight e7 should be winning that way. Or even knight f6 for that matter should win here. So here knight f6, maybe not, yeah. Because if you go knight f6, there's queen a7. Okay. So last time when you go this, queen a7 was working because, no, let's see, in this position, yeah, takes knight f6. It's the same position, right? Yeah, queen a7, knight d5. You need to actually find knight e7 here. Okay, so knight f6 may not be the best move here. Queen e8, b3, queen f7. You must play knight e7 here and wins. Because if you go knight f6, the problem is queen a7 attacking the rook, and you need to come back, because if you go rook b4, I have queen e7, I keep on attacking your rook. That is the issue. Okay, so rook b8, queen a7, rook b4, queen f7, rook b8. And now when the final moment, I thought Nihal will make it. He was down to like 2 seconds and he played the move rook b8, and it was a 3-fold repetition when actually knight e7 was still would have given him the win. But well, what a game. Yeah, it's a tough move. I agree with you. Yeah, he was very disappointed. I think Nihal played a great game this one. They are always disappointed when they are not able to find something which ends a very logical game where they have played very well. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed today's session. You learned a lot from Pragg and Nihal, because I myself keep learning from them. I have been with them on this sort of their upward rise since now 6 years. I remember seeing Nihal in 2014 in World Juniors, and he has been moving there. His rating was 1900. Pragg was also 1900. I think Nihal was 2000, Pragg was 1900. Since then, both of them have reached 2600. I've been seeing them. And same goes with other youngsters. I've also seen them climbing up. And it's been a great pleasure, and I'm glad that many more of you have come here to watch them and to learn from them. Keep improving, keep getting inspired. And yes, do sign the Arjuna petition, Arjuna Award. By the way, a small update. I think people in the ministry have been contacted for this, and they have said that they have seen this petition which is going around. So they have actually took notice of it, which is nice. Whether something will happen or not is the question, and we're going to try very hard, because I think Arjuna Award for chess players is important, and we're going to work on this. Jasraj Dange says, are there any US registered organizations for helping chess? I found AICFB, but need contact details for company match. How should I get in touch? Jasraj, write to us at chessbaseindia@gmail. I will put you in touch with AICFB. And for what reason? By the way, all those who say Sagar for GM, it's is something that we'll try to work it out once the tournaments begin. Right now it seems like, when will the tournaments happen? That's the main thing. But whenever that happens, I hope I can play. And I'll see you all, yeah, there in many of the tournaments. So once again, thank you guys. See you tomorrow, and see you today evening if possible. Tomorrow I have a live commentary in the evening for a PSPB tournament. You know, Petroleum Sports Promotion Board, PSPB, has been supporting Indian chess like no other organization. If you look at any top players, right after Anand, Hari Krishna, Vidit, Adiban, Setu Raman, Arvind, Abhijit Gupta, any you take names of anyone's apart from these young guys, they are still too young to be employed. All of them are employed with PSPB. Shashi Kiran, PSPB gives them employment. It gives them a monthly salary for chess, and this has actually boosted Indian chess to such a big extent. I can't believe. And they have an internal tournament inside PSPB for their employees, not for grandmasters, but I'll be commentating on that because I believe PSPB is a big asset for Indian chess. They have done so much. I can't believe Indian chess to be where it is without them. So I really feel that you can join in. And Devin, thank you for putting in the link to your song. Guys, please have a look at his song, subscribe to his channel. I think it's very nice to see that chess players who are learning chess are also successful in something that they are doing on their own. And I'm sure many of you are successful in many of the things you do, and I would like to know more of such people who are very good at something else and also learning chess. So thank you, Devin, for doing this. And yes, all of them are employed in different one. Like for example, Vidit is in ONGC, Surya is in IOCL, Indian Oil. Adiban is also in IOCL. In fact, Adiban lives in IOCL headquarters. Like this quarters, Indian Oil chamber. If you see that video entering Beast's home, that's Indian Oil enclave. Then you have Sethu Raman, who is in ONGC, Shashi Kiran, who is in ONGC, Abhijit Gupta, who is in BPCL, BPCL, Hari Krishna, who's also in BPCL or HPCL, I'm not just mistaking it, but yeah. So do join me that time, and take care and see you soon. Bye bye.